Hello and welcome to Family Dynamics. It's Katherine.
And Liz.
And Ed. And John.
And we have two special guests with us. Our mom is back with her sister Therese. Say hi, Mom and Aunt Therese.
Hello. We're so glad to be here.
Hi, everybody. This is Therese. Happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Love it.
Yeah, we're so lucky that you're back in town again so soon because it's not even been that long, but it was for a very special reason that you're back in town.
Yeah, I think we might have teased it a little bit last time you were in that you might be back because there was a baby on the way, another grandchild for you.
Yes, number 11.
Number 11 has been born. Congratulations to you and to your son Christian and his lovely, are they married? They're married now. Yeah. So spouse, Jenny.
Yes.
Adorable.
Yes.
What? I just had to be sure. I had to remember in my brain that, oh, yes, they did get married. I forgot. Okay.
Yes, they are a happily married couple that just had a brand new baby boy.
2 weeks old, yes.
That's so exciting. And any reason to get you back here on Southern California soil where you feel very lucky.
Yeah.
So I think what we should talk about today is just make it light and fun. And I'd like to know a little more about the two of you and your grandmother journeys because you just said, Aunt Therese, you have 11 grandchildren now.
Yes, I do.
And Mom, let's test you. How many grandchildren do you have?
12.
No, you have 13.
Oh, well, that's true. Plus one. 12 plus one.
And I mean, at this point, I do not think we should say name them all to either one of you because God forbid.
Well, that's too much of a test. Nobody needs to do that.
I mean, I think even...
Oh, Therese has a list. She just indicated she's got a little piece of paper.
She has a cheat sheet, which is probably not
smart.
a bad idea.
That's smart. That's a good way to handle it.
I mean, Mom, you could barely get all 8 of us names and birth dates correct. Yeah, look at her. She's like, I can't.
Birth dates. Oh, no, thanks.
No,
I'm
you
not
often
very
forget
good.
mine, and I'm the same date as your mother's.
I never forget yours.
There's a couple years of the Texas come like a day later, but that's okay. I mean, it's like,
Oh, yeah, well.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I don't think you forgot it. It's just, a very 16 candles, like,
Oh, yeah.
Things on your mind, and you just remember the next
A
day.
lot going on.
Right. All right, so you are in town because your son, Christian, just had his son. What was the name that they gave this little beautiful boy?
Berenger Gerard.
That is quite a name.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
so do we know why or how? Wait, the middle name, is that the same as Christian's middle name?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I only picked that up last night. Somebody was talking about it at Grandmary's house. There were some people over for dinner. Was it last night? Whatever night. Anyway. And then I was like, oh, okay, so that is actually a name that has occurred before. So there's a reference for that.
Right.
So, yeah, what's the origin of the name?
So because of the last name, Saunier, they wanted a French name, and they didn't want to go with, like, Pierre or Marcel or something. So they did some research, and Christian found out that apparently in France there is a Berenger Saunier.
Oh.
So he thought that was so terrific that they agreed.
Oh, that's
that would be
crazy.
name.
The
Yeah.
same last name.
Yeah, yeah. He was a priest, sort of disgraced. And,
Oh, jeez. Okay, perfect.
yeah. And there's some sort of controversy. I think there was based one of the books of Dante Code or whatever that is.
Oh,
Da
sure.
Vinci Code.
Yeah.
Da Vinci Code origin.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You mean like Dante's Inferno?
No.
Okay, you mean actually Da Vinci's Code. Got
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That type of controversy. And,
Dante Brown.
yes.
Oh, Mom, Mom, plug your ears because the Dan Brown books she was very scandalized by.
yeah.
I loved all of them. But so some relevancy to the Da Vinci Code.
Yes.
But the full name Berenger and Saunier, that's awesome. But I like that there's some disgraced scandal around him.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And Gerard, what is the origin of that name related
Well,
to family?
They have an uncle, Gerard.
Oh, okay.
Uncle Jerry. Yeah.
I didn't know that was his name. I thought it was always Jerry.
Well, so Mom, you just learned something. So Berenger, he could be Barry.
Yes. Or Bear.
I like Bear.
I like
Wait.
Bear, too.
Let's put a vote in.
So his nickname will be Barry Jerry.
Or BJ. Forget it. No, because it's BG. It's BG.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll just call him Big.
I like Bear. I think Bear's so cute. And he has got one of the best heads of hair I've ever seen on a baby.
Amazing.
I mean, the color is sort of like a little auburn red. And I mean, he is adorable. Because for us, that's a second cousin, right?
I think so. I don't know how it works. Is it just a cousin? I don't know.
Because I think, your children,
the
Therese,
children of your cousins.
right, that is our cousin, but John, did you have a theory?
If I remember when I looked this up 10 years ago, yes, correct. Second cousin.
Boom. Okay. So Berenger is our second cousin with a great little head of hair. So basically, I want to go back. So this is, number 11 and you 13. Our youngest is Lauren, who's going into the 4th grade. Yeah. So
I'm like feeling, where are the babies?
Well, I don't know if the next generation is starting anytime soon, meaning your grandchildren and you becoming a great grandmother. I mean, God willing, you're here to experience that, but it doesn't seem to be on the immediate horizon for the ones that are sort of in the age range. So
Yeah. There's a couple who are old enough, but don't seem to be in a place in their life where that's what's happening.
yeah, a little more career focused. So we were talking about Berenger. Why did you come so quickly?
Well, so I was having conversations with Christian, and they were well taken care of in the hospital. You know, they didn't have to do anything, and people got them whatever they needed. So then they got home, and it was sort of overwhelming to
Oh, yeah.
be recovering from a C-section,
Sure.
have a brand new baby that's big and needing to eat. And so by that point, you know, your milk hasn't come in, and they feed every 2-3 hours. So Christian said, I'd really like it if you would come now.
Yeah, because for you coming just across,
Right.
from Boston to California versus Australia,
Yeah.
and that's already mapped out when she's coming, would be a little more difficult to adjust. Yeah, because a C-section, also Christian's home has a lot of staircases, so
Right,
to go up and
yeah.
down those, not happening
Right.
for Jenny.
Right.
And I also just think babies just want to be held.
Right.
So
Exactly.
if you can take a nap and know that grandma or Gigi is holding the
Right.
baby, you can have some peace of mind.
Right.
Yeah, because a C-section's a very different recovery.
Yeah.
And it's
Well, it's a pretty traumatic procedure. I mean,
it's a
not-
surgery.
yeah.
It's a major, surgery to recover from.
Yeah.
And so, and the breastfeeding, that the first couple days of just adjusting to that is exhausting.
Yeah.
Yes, it's nice you came right away.
Right. And then so, like I came, help with a meal needed, and laundry, a lot of laundry.
Oh, laundry, sure.
Yeah. And holding the baby, fabulous,
Oh, nice. And just because Christian's really your only child that has, flown the Boston Coop and
Right.
all the way across the United States. So it's nice that you're able to come and kind of
Right.
be Gigi here.
Yeah, right.
I want to kind of go back to how your grandmother journey started. So you would have been with your daughter, Michelle,
Right.
and her daughter, Gabby.
Yes.
Who's a fantastic young lady. And you would have been with James, our older brother.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
Marie would have been your first.
Tell us a little about, we'll start with you, Aunt Therese, because you're here. So Michelle was with Gabby, then that was your first grandchild. And were you all living back east at the time together?
Yes. Yeah. Michelle was not living with me at the time, and I was 45.
Oh, okay.
45. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Because she was in her 20s, which,
Right. Michelle was in her
is not young, but,
Right.
it's funny. It's young for today's standards. A lot of women don't have kids until
Easily 30s,
30,
mid
which-
30s. That's more
Yeah, so
typical.
20
I mean, particularly here where we live, that's a more
Right.
standard.
Right.
Get your career going, whatever your relationship is for a couple of years, and then maybe think about a family.
yeah.
So then she was not living with you. She had Gabby at 23?
Right. And then she was living with me.
With
as a-
Gabby, with a little baby with you.
Yes, with the-
That's kind of awesome.
Right. And Gabby says that she has like 5 mothers.
Oh.
Because everyone was so involved. This was an only child for a while, the granddaughter. And she was so adorable that everybody was involved and very interested.
I'm not surprised. Also because, Michelle being the oldest, she had all these younger siblings, her aunts and uncles, and, for them to have a little baby that they could help, or be involved with and take out and do fun things with.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
we didn't have that experience so much, Mom, with James because James was living back east when he had his first daughter, Marie.
Right.
Actually, I want to ask you this, Trace. Were you, because this is something that I find kind of interesting with you, Mom, but when Michelle had Gabby, were you in the delivery room? Were you? Or
Yes, I was.
Oh,
yeah. I
okay.
cut the cord and.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you've really been there since day one.
Yeah.
Minute
absolutely.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that like watching your daughter give birth to your granddaughter?
Well, I because I had been through it, I knew what stage she was in as far as transition, and it seemed like the nurses weren't ready for her to deliver.
Oh.
And I knew that she was in transition.
You're like, uh-oh,
and-
this is happening.
Yeah. So I said, I think you ought to call a doctor. And the nurse said, "Oh, okay, let's see how she is. And then sort of a shocked look comes over her face like, oh my God, she's crowning, So, yeah, she had the baby very fast in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
I always think that'd be so, I have a son, so I don't know that I'll get that experience, Maybe the daughter-in-law will be like, I do not want my mother-in-law in here.
Yeah,
We
right.
never know. But I think it'd be so, it's such a passing of the torch or such a one of those life events to watch your child.
Right.
Because literally I was just away with my younger sister, and she was walking with her two boys who are older than my son. And I was like, that is my baby sister with these two, young men. How did that happen?
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that as a parent watching your daughter give birth. It'd just be like the circle of life.
right.
Because, Mom, were you, when James had his first child, which was a girl, Marie, were you in the delivery room?
No, they were in New York, and they called me, and I flew out that night.
Oh, that night. Wow.
I swore at the end of that I was never taking another red eye.
Oh, you really flew out that quickly.
Weren't they in North Carolina?
Was it? Heavens.
Yeah.
It's-
Marie, I think they were in North
actually,
Carolina.
They were in the South because there's a very famous little vignette that happens there, and it had to be the South.
Well, what's the famous vignette?
Oh, I was so out of it when I got there because, all night on the plane, it was terrible. And of course, I wanted to be helpful. So, would you go to the grocery store for us? Well, I hadn't really eaten anything. And so,
Wait, you arrived immediately?
well, within, say, an hour.
They were
said-
putting you to work.
Yeah. So I went to the grocery store and I thought, I gotta get something to eat. And they had, a service counter, like where
A little deli, right?
Little deli. And so I thought, fried chicken, Southern fried chicken. Oh, that'd be so fabulous.
From the grocery store.
Yeah. Well,
Don't. That is not underrated. I'm telling you, that's some damn good fried chicken usually.
oh,
Okay.
Oh, that's what they do. And so anyway, I go up to the deli counter and I said, I wanted to get some fried chicken. And the kid said, oh, I'm sorry, we're sold out. And I said, oh, how rude. And the kid looked like someone had hit him with a 2x4.
no.
And I realized in the South, to be rude would be about the worst thing you could do to a customer.
Oh, okay.
And it was just a California saying, and, he didn't know that. And it's kind of an awkward moment.
Did you look elderly at that time? I mean, because,
No,
Not
because
really.
because the Southern are
How
going to be
old
nice
was
to an
I?
older, woman.
Ma'am.
she's,
Ma'am.
how old is she now? Good Lord, I have no idea.
She's
I don't
almost-
think she's quite 30, so
Yeah.
you'd be in your 50s, but not that far.
But you
into your
also had
50s.
gray hair then.
Yeah, I did go gray in my 40s.
So it really might have been alarming that this elderly woman, older woman, is telling him how rude.
Oh, dear.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
So anyway,
Fried some up immediately.
we had, a lovely visit.
Wait, did you not get fried chicken then?
No,
Really?
I had to figure out something else
So you're
quick.
delirious in the grocery store, trying to get groceries. They weren't even home from the hospital, though, were they?
Yeah, they came right home.
What?
Oh,
Like after a minute.
yeah.
Well, now turnaround is usually, 48 hours is like, if nothing's wrong, you're basically home in 48 hours.
When I first had the first baby, you stayed at least 5 days.
I know. You said you could smoke in the hospital. You'd have coffee, a steak. I mean, airline travel and basically
Having a baby,
Having
yeah.
a baby has changed a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're at the grocery store. You're not getting your fried chicken. You come back. So I gotta say, I don't know. It's a weird. You're so vulnerable and you're so exhausted. Because you're not Michelle's. This was your son. So it's your daughter-in-law. I don't know if I could have handled you there. You know what I'm saying? It's a hard You're so exhausted. You're so depleted, having just given birth.
Yeah, but remember, I was used to going about 90 miles an hour at all times.
I know, but I don't know if I can handle that energy. I'd be like, oh my God.
I think the whole point is your barriers are lower. You take the help that you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So then you were there.
Oh, and of course, Michelle, she's like, can we canonize her now?
Oh, yes, our sister-in-laws.
She is so
Very-
remarkable.
Yeah, she's a very sweet woman and very kind, even keel. I don't really ever seen I mean, 5 children. I don't think I've ever seen her lose her shit.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
how could you not? But I don't think I ever saw her. You know.
No. Oh no. Yeah.
So you're there now. This was your first grandchild.
Yeah.
Were
And-
you excited?
Oh, over the moon. I mean, why do you think I flew out the same day?
I know, like you
about
couldn't
it?
wait till normal hours. What was going to happen?
Well, I couldn't be gone too long because I was already teaching.
Oh,
Well,
that's
this
right.
Teaching year had
Oh.
started.
Oh, wait. Speaking of hair, because we had mentioned that Christian's baby has such remarkable hair.
Fantastic hair.
Marie has amazing red hair. When she was a baby, did she have red hair right out of the gate? Was
Little
it very
fringe.
obvious? Oh, okay.
Little hue.
fringe.
But
Yeah.
it not a clear indication of where we were going, that this was the
it was
beginning
good.
of the redheads in James's family.
You could kind of figure it out.
Oh, okay.
And I was very hopeful because, excusing me from the 4 members present, I always wanted a redhead.
Oh, well, sorry to disappoint
yeah,
you. But I mean,
wow,
where was
okay.
the redhead?
Whatever you
where
got,
was-
Rosemary.
Out of a bottle, but where was the red hair coming from on our side?
Yeah, that's recessive
You-
somewhere, obviously.
Where did it come from with James's kids?
Yeah,
Well,
it's in there.
But Michelle comes from a family of 13, so it could be somewhere on her side. I'm saying, was there an aunt or an uncle that you two would remember red hair?
Yeah, it has to line up. You both have to have it for red hair to happen.
Oh.
It's a recessive gene. That's why it's so uncommon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's odd because if you two don't remember any, aunt,
James's
uncle,
was kind of reddish when he was little, but not
yeah.
redhead. Yeah.
No, and actually Rosie was a strawberry blonde, naturally.
Yes, I'll give her that. Yes, and that's the current color. Yeah, and it looks good on her. So
Yeah, it does.
yeah. So all right, that might be enhanced, but there is some red hair in our family of that generation. So how long did you stay when you went?
Maybe 5 days or something like that.
They've traveled and moved so much. I don't know that she had any additional family support. So that's really nice that you went. Now, Therese, how long are you here this time?
I'm here another week.
Yeah, because I thought when we saw you for a baby shower
In
2 or 3
December.
months ago, you said you were going to let them have their space.
Right.
And then you're going to come maybe 2 months after the baby was born.
Right.
So when we got the text message that they had the baby and the fabulous photo, I thought, well, that's going to be so wonderful. Aunt Therese will be here in about 2 months. I think it was like 2 days later, there was a photo of
Yeah, it
you
was
holding
pretty
the
quick.
baby. So how did you get here? I mean, obviously you didn't take an overnight like our insane mother and you weren't looking for fried chicken on arrival. How did you get here so quickly, or how did that come about?
Well, I had discussions with Christian, and I said, I know that Jenny's mom is coming on the 6th.
All the way from Australia, so a
Yes.
little more of a trek.
Right. And this is her first grandbaby.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh,
Exciting
that's
for
a big
her.
deal.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
So I wanted them to sort of settle down, settle in, and also give the other grandmother a yaya, they
Yeah.
call it
Oh.
in Greek, and a chance to bond and sort of fit into
Yeah, you
the
don't want
household.
to.
Yeah.
You're sort of because, like I said, daughter-in-law.
Right.
You're like, I want to tread lightly, whatever
Exactly.
she feels comfortable with.
Right. Give her some space.
So
Right.
she's Yaya, Jenny's mom.
Right.
What is your name as a grandmother?
Gigi.
You're
Oh,
Gigi?
I love
Oh my God, that's so
it.
cute. Are you Gigi with all your grandkids?
Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
so cute. We have a Gigi in our family because her name is Virginia, and Jack, one of your grandsons, basically couldn't say Virginia, so it was Gigi, and that has stuck.
Yeah.
And Mom, what do you go by?
This is kind of hilarious. When the first grandchild was born, there were at least one great-great-grandmother. I mean, she
On
had-
her side.
Yeah.
Okay.
And 2 or 3 great-grandmothers.
Insane.
Yeah.
But like I said,
Wait,
she
what?
comes from she comes from 13, so the age gap is like a 20+ year age gap between all the siblings. So some of Michelle's sisters have become grandmothers. So her mother was a great grandmother.
Oh, you're saying within the extended family, other various grandma. Okay,
So they all had names.
yeah. So what was not taken?
Nothing. There was nothing left.
There was a grandmother, granny, Nana. You were not a Grammy.
Well, Pop Pop is available if you want that.
Also, you usually don't want what your mother, we called your mother, both of you, Nana.
Yeah.
And you did not seem like a Nana at 50 years old.
So we came up with Grand Mary. And I've never run into another one. And it's stuck.
Well, it suits you. And then also your nickname Crinkle now, or Grand Crink.
Grand Crink.
Grand
yeah,
Crink.
Kirk calls you that.
Grand Crink.
Yes, only Kirk and I have this.
Yeah,
thing
he can get away
going.
with it. But Grand Mary was pretty much awesome, and it suited you. And so when my mother-in-law was about to become a grandmother with my son Ethan, we were singing around. I think it was a large family event, and Jan was like, "Well, I don't know what I want to be called." And I'm sure she had something in mind, but Rosemary very sarcastically or very dryly said, "Well, how about Grand Jan?" And that was it. That stuck. It's never wavered. So I like the grand with someone's name on it. Like,
Floated out of Rosemary's mouth onto the name card, permanent ink.
yeah, pretty much. Okay, so then you were able to go ahead.
There's a little thing. As the kids got older, that became kind of awkward, Grand Mary. I'm a big kid now. So I'm GM to all of them. And all the texts I send out are GM.
Wait, who calls you GM?
The older,
Like a Jack and a
grandchildren.
Luke and
Jack
some of the
and a
Killmonds?
Luke
Okay.
No one calls you that. You mean in text they write that?
Yeah.
That's different.
I've never.
But for her right now in this era, that is how she communicates with all of her grandchildren via text.
A
And
lot
they
of
call her
emojis.
GM because I wouldn't type out Grand Mary.
Yeah.
That's way too long.
I
I wouldn't even
do
have
like
a same
GM.
shortcut for that. Be like GM done.
Yeah, I like it, Mom, and a lot of emojis or gifs with Grand Mary too. You really know how to work a group text, Mom. Luke told me, or Jack, where I just was away with two of our nephews, and they told me some story where you sent just a picture of the new cousin Berenger, like to just him, and he's like, "Okay, great." Like, because
Perfect.
he felt like, shouldn't that be on a group text? But okay, he's really cute, Grand Mary or GM. Okay, so you both have now at this point had your first grandchildren. And I mean,
Seems like a million years.
it is a million years. You're talking about 11 and 13. So James really dominated that for a while because
Yeah, he had the first run.
yeah, I feel like he had all three of those girls before anybody else had a grandchild.
Correct.
That's correct, because no sons.
Yeah.
And then somebody else was pregnant at the same time as Michelle was expecting the fourth child.
It would be Katherine.
Yeah, it was me.
Okay. And
I think you're skipping one
No.
because we had a fourth girl. Then we had some
right.
slight pregnancy overlap.
Like we said, we might have to put up a chart for this because it's too confusing. But
Well, are you saying
correct.
that I was pregnant with Sarah and
you were.
You had Sarah, then there was Adam, other boy crossover, maybe.
Anyway, whatever it was, they don't want to know what the sex is ahead of time. So they didn't know. And he was born first. So he's the first boy and the first grandson.
Right, William. But they had three girls in a row. And the third,
did.
Teresa, was close in age to Sarah, your daughter.
not super close. I mean, I always think that they're close. They're like
not?
3 or 4 years apart.
Yeah.
They're
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So there was a bit of a gap. So James had his 3 girls kind of close together. Mm-hmm. So it's Marie, Katherine, and then Teresa. And then there was a little bit of a gap. And then I had Sarah. So that would have been your first local grandbaby.
Yes,
And
it was.
also, as Liz was saying, like your daughter having a child.
Right.
So that was a significantly different experience, I would imagine.
Yeah, so you at that point, because I know you went back and you were in the birthing room for one of the kids or two of James's kids.
Well, they were. Where were they? I have no idea at the
For
moment.
sure, New Jersey or New York, you were there because I remember hearing the story.
It was in New York.
Okay.
This is so hilarious. And they thought, they had a family birthing room. So the girls could come. And they were just little kids.
I am so surprised they allow little kids.
Yeah. So they did. And Marie couldn't take it. It was just too intense for her.
Well,
She had to
because
get
Michelle
out
does
of the room.
Yeah, because Michelle does natural births, like
Yeah.
no epidural.
No.
So it's very
So just-
intense.
Yeah. And she also is not a quick deliverer. So I had to take Marie out because, of course, James was going to stay. Definitely. And Katherine wanted to stay. I don't know how old she was.
How
She must
interesting.
have been like 2 or 3. Like, how is that? Yeah.
And she was sitting in a corner of the room eating Cheerios.
Oh, okay.
Well, she is, a resident now. I mean, in medical.
like,
I mean, I do
so-
remember.
I could do this. I could do
This
this
was
all the
all-
time forever.
That was your observation, right, Mom? That you were like, oh, Katherine could be a doctor. Little Katherine could be a doctor. She was unfazed by this experience.
Oh, no. That
Oh.
is not the case.
Oh, okay.
So Marie had to have a whole explanation outside of the room. So we had a lovely time together.
Down the cafeteria.
No, just we were just outside the door because she came right in when the baby was born.
Oh, okay.
The baby being Teresa, I'm
Teresa.
assuming.
Oh,
Okay.
it's so cute. Anyway, and so I took them out to lunch, and we're sitting there having lunch, and Katherine said, that was gross.
No.
Well,
Of course, I really had to restrain myself so I didn't burst out laughing. But as you said, doesn't phase her. I mean, she doesn't.
No.
She doesn't actually seem like she's all upset about it. She's just like, what?
so you were there pre-birth because you probably were there to watch the two other daughters when Michelle was at the hospital for a few days.
And plus, what she was overdue.
Oh, wasn't
I
it?
might have been there, shortly after, except she didn't have the baby right away.
Yeah, because
Oh.
she's an August baby.
Who got married in August?
I don't know. I mean, that's really challenging. You think we're going to remember marriages?
Because
We barely remember
I had
birthdays.
to stay in town for the wedding and then immediately go out of town.
You might be thinking of my July wedding. I think you're
Yeah,
thinking my
yeah,
July
yeah,
wedding
yeah.
because James, I had two flower girls, and Michelle obviously could not come because she was so close to her delivery date. But James brought Katherine and Marie to be my flower girls. So it was my wedding, July. And then Teresa was born in August. But to be in New York, super hot, humid, having to watch little girls, you are a good grand Mary. So that was, so then you'd watch, there was your daughter-in-law giving birth and you were in the room or right outside the room.
Yeah.
So as Catherine said, I think that's fascinating. The first in-town daughter, and was mom in the room with your birth?
Yeah, look, my memories are really bad, just in general. But I think a whole bunch
Yes,
of
I
people
was.
were in the room.
I was
You
there.
definitely were. Yeah.
Wait, you were in the room, Ed?
I think John was. I think like a
How?
lot. You weren't, John? I mean, it
I
was
had a pretty
insanity.
tough spot too. I kept like, let me turn away. There's a mirror. There's a thing. There's oh my god.
That's
That's
alarming.
shocking because Eric, your husband, is so sort of like can be easily grossed out by things or like lower tolerance for
Well,
something.
and he also is like not super family oriented because he's basically an only child. He has some
faint at the
step
sight of
sibling.
blood?
Well, there's that, but also just like he is easily overwhelmed by our family. So the idea that like a whole bunch of people were in the delivery room is very funny to me. That he was just like, well, I guess this is what's happening.
Yeah, this is a railroad situation because I think it was all the sisters and Graham Mary just like, well, we're here. What are you going to say about it?
Yeah, because there was overall throughout, like particularly the girls, there was a lot of excitement because it was the first local baby. It's the first sister to have a baby, and all of them are sort of like, at some point, this is going to be maybe us. So
You did so fine. I mean, you were just no sweat. I wasn't even, like, yeah, this is just how it's supposed to be. But Adam didn't immediately respond when
Oh,
he
yeah,
was
no.
born. Oh,
Adam-
That was a
was heart
scary,
in the
tense
mouth.
birth.
I mean, it was like,
Yeah, that was alarming.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. So then you've had Gabby, your first granddaughter.
Yep.
Who is next?
The next one,
And
was
this we're talking to
Noel-
Aunt Therese, by the way.
Yeah, Noelle, and that was
Oh.
Nicole's oldest daughter.
And what was sort of the age gap between Gabby and her? Was it significant?
6 years, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A while. So then
Yeah.
you really had, little toddler Gabby. Gosh,
Yeah.
she really got adored then.
Oh, yes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And she was very good. She'd sit in the back seat of a car and, have adults in the car, and she'd just listen. Just listen. And she was great to take to a restaurant. She was great.
Yeah, she soaked it all up because
Yeah.
now it gets overturned on her because here comes another, her near first cousin. So Noelle arrives, and
Right.
she was close and local as well.
Yes, yep, same town. Yep.
Were you able to be in that birthing room?
No.
I don't know why yours was Grand Central Station. But okay, so
Yeah,
it was
I don't
just-
know why either.
Well, because everybody's different. So was it her and her husband in the room?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
great.
Yeah.
She has how many kids?
3.
Her kids were how close in age or spread out?
So they're about 7 years, six
So
years.
pretty
yeah.
much, So then Danny, your daughter, have anyone that sort of overlapped or came in between that?
The last of Nicole's, Bridget, and Isabel are pretty close in age.
Okay. So then you had a good run of grandchildren
Yes.
at that point with your
Yeah.
daughters.
Yeah.
And then Mark, your son, who is the third child, right?
Right,
Okay,
right.
gosh, I was wow, I'm really challenging myself. He now has 2 kids.
Right. They're 8 and 11.
There's
No, 8 and 4. Sorry.
I was like, whoa, wait a minute. 'Cause
Yeah.
I follow on Facebook. Thank
Yeah.
God for Facebook.
Yeah.
Because it's a way for you to sort of keep up and see photos, right?
Yeah, it's lovely. I
Yeah.
mean, it really does take the pressure off of making sure you kind of have some idea of what everybody's up to. You're like, oh, I kind of know what's happening.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's had 2 kids. So, gosh, back east, just about everybody had children. and
Right.
Christian was the last of your kids.
Right, right.
That's and he, I'm not going to rat out his age, but was not a spring chicken.
Right, he's 46.
Well, all right, fine,
well,
you
now
do it.
You do it. You said it.
But it was kind of, I knew he wanted to be a dad.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, when's it going to happen? Like, are we going to, happen here? But, finding the right person, the right partner, all that's going to
Sure.
happen. And Jenny's lovely.
Fabulous.
When she came to Thanksgiving at my house last year,
Right.
our sister Virginia is very astute sometimes, or really is trying to hone in on stuff. And then she gets Rosie on board usually, and then I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off at Thanksgiving. And then usually they come over to me and say some theory about something. And it was like, I think Jenny's pregnant. I was like, what? She's not drinking. Neither is Christian, really. And that dress is very flowy. I'm like, well, unless they announce it, we're not going to say anything. She must have been like,
a month.
yeah, like
yeah, she was like a minute.
It was like 6 weeks
had
pregnant.
Barely,
Yeah.
but they were trying and headed in that direction.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Virginia's miscalled a few things as well, but this
Well,
was
yes.
right on.
As far as Thanksgiving, the little turkey is ready thing was about to pop right out.
No, it was like not even. It was hard.
No,
it was way
she was
in.
not hiding a bump at all, but she was in the zone. So,
But
yeah.
Virginia had her radar, and then Rosie got on. They had their all the theories. I'm like, well, they're not announcing it, so we're not going to ask,
Right.
Because it may be the early stages, and that's what happened. So, but I think they did tell us. Gosh, it was not too long after there was something that we saw Christian at.
Well, they got married in December.
Yeah, so it was around that time, and it was like
or right after, yeah.
I knew it. One of those, I knew it. And I'm like, all right. So have you been in any of the birth rooms, Therese, to watch your daughters give birth?
Well, I was in the birth room for one of Nicole's, but I wasn't there at birth.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah. And also my youngest, Danielle, she had twins at home.
Oh, that's right.
One of the twins was born at home.
Oh.
And then the other one, she ended up having a C-section for the second one.
Yeah, 'cause-
that is a crazy story that she
Yeah.
went into labor and ended up having the first of the twins at home.
Right, right.
And then made it to the hospital.
Yeah.
Aren't they like a day apart too? So like
Yes.
they were on opposite sides of midnight or whatever. That's amazing.
Yes, and opposite sides of the horoscope, too, because they're different
Oh, that's cool.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
Yeah.
Grandma doesn't
Wow.
approve of the horoscope part.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they are so different personality-wise.
Oh, there you go,
There you go,
Mom.
Mom.
I don't know.
Well,
That's actually
they're
cool.
fraternal twins,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
So,
Right,
really,
'cause it's a
the
boy
same
and a
thing
girl.
as-
It's
as
just different people.
If they've
Yeah.
been born 5 years apart. I mean,
Well, you're a fraternal twin as well, Aunt Therese, right?
Right.
And did you feel like you and your brother were that different, or yeah?
No. For me, there was no distinction or separation. It was always us. Us and we.
Oh.
Yeah.
what are your pronouns?
Yeah.
Us and we.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. So when you say you were there for the birth, but not in the birth room,
For Nicole, one of Nicole, so she was in labor, progressing and everything. And then it got to be time. And then it gets very hectic.
Yes.
So it was better for me to step out,
yeah, because I think I don't know, California, it's all evolved, right? To hear that our young nieces were in the birthing room going back 25 years ago, it's kind of surprising
Right.
because young kids,
Yeah.
that's not so typical. Sometimes they will allow siblings, but a lot of times because it's hectic or can be, upsetting because, there's a lot going on. And then usually siblings are iffy. Like, sorry, Ed, I did not have you and John in my birthing room. I do not know how they were in your birthing room, Katherine. That's crazy.
There are.
I was
were
responsible
you-
for a lot of hamburgers when we were working together and feeding
Yeah,
you.
during my pregnancy.
Looking out for you.
Yeah, we
Nice.
were working at the same place, and he would bring me food because we were on kind of an evening shift. It was a very cool time.
Yeah, it was very exciting because, for us, you were the first one that we were going to go through the pregnancy with you because Michelle, they always
Weren't here.
Did they
Yeah.
have one child here? Did they have JP here?
No. Yes, definitely. They lived here with me with their 4 kids for 9 months,
Right.
and they bought a house, but it was in Woodland Hills.
Close.
And so I came from work, and I was sitting there the whole time.
Yeah, I do remember JP is a California kid, so that we got to experience with Michelle, which is great. That's her number 5, so that was a lot that, I remember going to London and they had William at this point,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and she would breastfeed, and we went out to a very fancy London restaurant, And William was just like under a cloak like the whole meal. And Mark goes, is this what will happen? Is this normal? I go, everybody's different. Would you calm down? I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, James and Michelle are very different. If at that point that was number 4, I mean, she was just rolling with it. So I'm like, I don't know if I'd be like that with my first kid. No, because you then, I think for Rosemary, when Rosie gave birth, we all got kicked out of the birthing room because I think it was so.
I got to stay.
You got
to stay
because
that was also very long. Rosemary had a very long,
intense.
Yeah,
I think they went really early.
Oh
well,
I was a great one for waiting until it was a crisis. Okay, let's get into the hospital, and then you have the baby 40 minutes later.
well, that is not typical because, now you're going to your OBGYN like every single week or other day by the time you're in your, 9.5 months. So
yeah, I was just remembering that with Sarah, my water broke in the morning at my doctor's appointment. And then they're like, okay, well, you're going to have this baby today. So go home, get your stuff, and come to the hospital. And when I got to the hospital, like a couple hours later, they're like, where have you been? And I'm like, what? And they were like, oh, yeah, your blood pressure is crazy. Because I had been fine through the whole pregnancy. But then all of a sudden, I was basically, what do you call it? Preeclampsia, but it was like one step down from that. And then they put me on some medication in the hospital that made me so incredibly hot. I don't know if you remember this. Like you and Eric and whoever else was bringing bags of ice and just pushing them against my back because I was just so hot. So, I mean, it was a good thing that I didn't try and wait longer. They were like, no, you could go into a coma. So I'm like, this is why you go to a hospital, because you don't know these things. So, yeah.
Well, everybody's
weird to think about that.
journey is so different. To observe it can be stressful because how do you help you? What do you do? And then you got to rely on the professionals. So Rosemary, so you were in the room. We were, standing outside. I remember that. And then, I finally got on board and had Rosie had her 2 boys, and then finally I had my son.
Oh yeah, that
right.
And I was
and somewhere in there I had Adam in between,
right?
Because Adam
Rosemary's in between.
Right,
Rosie's boys.
Adam's
Doesn't
older
he
than
have
Ethan.
the same birthday as
Luke.
Yeah,
they're separated by 2 years, so it was Sarah, then Jack and William, right in there, then Adam, Luke 2 years later, and then Ethan, right? Am I
Luke and John Paul, yeah.
Oh, I'm skipping John Paul. Thank you. Yeah.
That's keeping this straight. And I remember when I gave birth, I was open to having kind of anybody that wanted to be in the room for the most part. I knew my father-in-law could not handle it because he can't stand the sight of blood, and he really wasn't totally mobile to the point where he could handle it. But I said to my mother-in-law, if you'd like to be in the birthing room, you can be in the birthing room, because I thought, I don't know, I'm going to have another kid. Is my sister-in-law going to have a kid? This might be her opportunity to watch a birth because, although we've done podcasts with Grand Jan, I mean, she acts like she was conscious during her pregnancies. I mean, we're all of the era that no, they put you out and you woke up with a baby. But, we don't know with Jan. So, but I was brought to the hospital. And I think they broke my water. Part of it you do. That's why you have other kids, because you forget. It's so traumatizing. You forget the details. So then I pretty sure I started to do. They tried to induce me, but it was just taking so long. And so I sent everybody home at one point. I was like, oh my God, if I can get any sleep tonight, all of you get out. We'll call you if stuff starts to really happen. So about 8 a.m, you came. Because you didn't go to work, you came, and you were sitting there having your coffee and trying to distract us, and then other sisters rolled in, and I think my sister-in-law could not handle the sight of blood either, so she was right outside of the room, and my mother-in-law. And I just remember this one thing, because this is having your mother, you and your morning coffee, it's okay, breathe, in my face. I was like, oh my God, if you don't take a breath mint, I'm going to kill you, Mom. I was like, I can't take it. Liz, breathe. I'm like, because I've had nothing but ice chips
for 24 hours.
For 24 hours, and you have full morning coffee and breath. I'm like, you're going to have to knock me out for this birth at this point because I'm not going to handle it. It was so awful. But I go, breath mint. And you're like, who? I'm like, you! God. But I don't want to talk about it. So then, then as a grandmother, it's very interesting. Like each of us girls have had different experiences with you as a grandmother.
Yeah. I mean, I think I got the best version of it because Sarah being the very first local grandbaby, you came over almost every morning for like the first couple weeks because I had time off from work and you just were like there, usually with McDonald's at my door after a long night of... Yeah.
I'd come in. I remember this very well. I'd come in and you both were in bed, got back in bed immediately. And
Eric and her? Okay.
yes.
Yeah, we were always very good about someone's here, we're going to go sleep. Like we tried
smart.
really hard. I mean, that's when I started wearing earplugs because I was like, I can't even know what is happening. I have to try and sleep right now. So I'm going to wear earplugs so that I can't hear. And then you've got the baby. Come get me if you need me. Otherwise, I'm going to really try and sleep. But yeah, when you would come over, we would just be like, you got it? Okay, good night.
Yeah, and I'd have the bassinet in the den with me. So I just right beside where I was sleeping because I went right back to sleep because I used to come before work.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was really early. And, I'd just keep rocking the thing and she'd stay asleep. It was,
Oh,
That's
Sarah.
nice. Yeah, you've always worked through, I think most of us having our
I started
kids.
teaching when John was a baby.
Yeah. And you only retired, what, 5?
When I was 70.
10 years ago. Okay. So
Were you retired when Lauren, the youngest, was born? Were you able to
yeah,
be...
just about.
Yeah? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Virginia and you have a more, you've been more hands-on with those granddaughters, just because I think Virginia, I will admit, like, I look back on it and sometimes Rosie will say the same things like, well, mom wasn't around. Mom wasn't that helpful. I'm like, well, I don't know that I was demanding that much of mom. I wasn't asking her to be over every day. I wasn't, mom, I need your help. Like,
Or
Christian
even just like inviting. So whether it's asking for help or just being like, come over for dinner, or which Ginny does a lot. She's very much
Right.
like, come over,
Right.
come over, come over. Where I know for me, and I think this is sort of where you're going, I have never been like, come over, come over, come over, or I need help. So it's whatever occurs to you to offer, which because you're very busy is sometimes not very much, or some other kid is getting your attention. And I've always been fine with that. Although I do have to say I was extremely happy with all the help when Sarah was first born. That was amazing. But sorry, back to you, Liz.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So all of us, and I wanted to ask you this about Therese as well with your daughters. So I think each of us, 4 girls who've had kids, you've had sort of different relationships with us as a grandmother and the grandchildren. And a lot of it, now you get older and you come insight, you're like, well, what did I ask of mom? Or, so I can't be disappointed like you weren't every day at my house in the morning bringing me McDonald's. Like, well, I didn't ask you to do that. So that's okay. Because all of your daughters live relatively close to you, Aunt Therese, right?
Right.
So how involved or hands-on were you with your grandchildren?
Well, with Gabby a lot.
Yeah. That whole 6 years of
Yeah.
her just, yeah.
With Nicole, not so much because I was working. I had also gotten married.
Oh,
and
that's right.
My husband was had really critical heart operations and recoveries, so that was a factor.
Right.
And then with Jack and Jane, Mark's kids, again, there was not the offer. Also, I think it's different with daughter-in-laws.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And with Danielle, I was there a lot. I think because of the twins, it's
That's a lot.
Yeah.
it's hard.
They'll take any help. You're
Yeah.
like,
Plus, they're so adorable. So
yeah, the gene pool is super cute.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all great looking kids. And there's really moments like, that's a Sonia, man. I mean, you can just see it. The big head of hair on the girls, it's like strong hair on a lot of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it is hard to know how to navigate that. And because you've told some stories about your mom being a Nana and not. Yeah, I mean, but it's
Not being helpful, I think, is what the laugh is about. Yeah.
She'd come out in the kitchen and she'd have a cigarette in one hand and a drink in the other. And she'd say, "Can I do anything?" And I think, well,
How?
with your toes. I mean, she was not very domesticated.
But at the same time, there also aren't any stories of either of you driving off with the grandkids to go pick up some fish for the restaurant in downtown.
oh gosh,
Our grandparent stories aren't the same thing as you as grandparent stories.
they definitely gave the vibe when you got a little older and you could kind of be a little come on, rascal behavior, especially with your father. Nana would sit and chat with me while I had my scotch and soda and cigarette and Cheez-Its, and she'll tell a story, or just sit next to her while she read. I mean, they were not super active, involved grandparents, but Grandpa always was doing something. So if you wanted to come with him, like when I had to steal the firewood from a construction site, I mean, that he was down for that. It was like, come on, no one's going to arrest a little blonde-haired girl. Come here, go grab that huge 20-pound log. It was like, what? So, because your mom,
And you went with the wagon to go get
of course, there's no quick getaway. I mean, it was like, and he was completely going to ditch me if the shit hit the fan. It was like, he was, I don't know who that kid is. So
Imagining mom with any one of your grandkids like at a pumpkin patch, like, oh yeah, I know we're gonna steal this bale of hay. I cannot even believe what your responses to those would have been. That would have been amazing.
Well, she does like to clip flowers while she's on walks from people's front yards. So
Grandma-
that would be the closest thing.
well, it's more wildflowers that Grandma puts together.
I don't. I get the ones that are hanging over the sidewalk.
Oh, free game.
Loose interpretation. But no, I mean, you're just,
Who took after that, you smarty? Elizabeth, who used to go and rob the back of the flowers.
they had thrown them in the dumpster. They were still
And
perfectly
she'd be
fine,
going
Mom.
through them to see if they were good enough.
Yes,
to
they
bring
could
home.
corsages. I had a small business I was running. Okay, I was repurposing, recycling flowers.
Genius.
So your mother, just to kind of bring it full circle, your mom wasn't the most hands-on, involved grandmother, really. And you were back east with all your kids.
Although when they were living in Cliffwood, which was during James's and William's time as babies, they were all over James.
That was their
They had
first
him-
grandchild.
They had him stay overnight all the time, and of course, then they had their regular schedule, which was no schedule. And James would come home and he said, "That was the weirdest day.
Oh, I mean,
I didn't get any lunch."
I cannot remember if we've talked about myself and Rosie, because we're close to being Irish twins. You would send us to stay with your parents, and those were
In Oceanside,
precarious.
yeah.
Yeah, it was precarious. We're lucky we came back alive. I mean, so I did for all good and fun intents and purposes, but it really was like, what in the world? Because you were from a family of 5, the two of you, and you have 3 brothers. 2 of them did not have children.
Right.
Your brother, your twin, the we and us, did have 3 children.
Right.
And where does Robbie? Because Robbie is the same age as Virginia, right? They're the closest, I think, in age.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have the same birthday, do they?
Yeah, November 3rd. I
Yeah,
think.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Helen Marie, who is always, one of our fan listeners. Shout out
Yep.
to Helen Marie, our cousin.
Yeah.
And then her sister Christine's about to have her second child.
Yes, has had.
Oh, that's right. Congratulations. So it's another cousin.
Yeah.
You really could not test us on how many cousins we have.
No. I mean, look, if
No.
we really thought about it and
Wait,
made a
John,
chart.
do you know?
Oh, second cousins?
This was the whole debate on the cousin Facebook Messenger chat. It was 30-31 versus 30-32, 31-32, and it was 30-31, I think, right? No one remembers. Great.
No, I can't keep track. It's too much. But, I mean, where was he living when he had his kids?
Richard?
Yeah, because he was in the military, so it was sort of where they were stationed.
Yeah. So he was in New Jersey for a while, and
wow.
I think he was down south, I forget where, and then he was in Massachusetts as well. So,
Massachusetts would have been the closest to,
Yeah.
because if your parents had moved at that point.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is to be close as you get older to some family support or grandmothers, like, to be able to have them come. I mean, total blessing that you've been able to come see Behringer.
Yeah, and isn't there, just going back to Nana, isn't there a story about her and Gabby, like Michelle and her would go visit Nana, and they
Yes.
would have a nice visit together?
Yes, yeah.
Because was Nana at that point
In a nursing home.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's so really probably Gabby was the only one that has real memories of Nana.
And I don't know if she does. 'cause,
Right.
Yeah, she was very little.
I just talked about Nana, bringing up some story with her where she was living in her nursing home, and I think we had come back for Nicole's wedding.
Right.
And we went to go visit her with Helen Marie, and I think it was all 4 of us girls, Rosemary, Gigi, you and I, and she wanted to sneak out for a cigarette in the nursing home. And I think Katherine was like outraged, like, what? And Helen Marie and I are like, oh my God, just like, who cares?
What does it matter at this point?
I'm like, I pulled out a flask, and I know I didn't have the scotch with me, but I said, all right, I go, do you have cigarettes here with you? Because I thought How do you even have them? And I think she had some stashed away. And so we wheeled her out into some little patio, and she just was so excited to sit with the girls and have a cigarette. And I mean, she maybe took 3 puffs off of it because at that point, the ship had sailed.
Yeah.
But I was talking to Rosemary about it because we were talking about her mother-in-law. And we were just thinking it was so funny because she was so like, I'm going to sneak out. And, because we always had that Nana was a character.
Yeah.
So
she was amazing. When Dad died, she came out here and she was up to all kinds of stuff.
Oh, when you mean our father, Dad died.
Yeah.
Well,
No, when her husband died.
Really?
And she came out here for a visit, and she was just up to all kinds of
What
stuff.
do you
Like, what
mean?
kind of stuff?
Like, let's go here, let's go there. I mean, she was like a different person.
She'd been untethered.
Oh,
I think so.
Freedom.
yeah. I'm like, what are you alluding to?
Well, she
What?
also had a starring role in Catherine's sitcom pilot too.
Oh, yeah.
Nana was quite the character. I mean, I just remember they were here for some holidays. They were here for Christmas, and it was a California Christmas. So it was like 79 degrees or something. So dressing the outfit you were going to dress up in for Christmas, church or mass, all of a sudden was like, I'm going to be swelteringly hot in this. And your father gave your mother the oddest looking fur coat. Was that still in the round trays and you cleaned out her possessions?
I think it's in my closet.
Was it otter? Like, I don't know what the hell pelt it was. But even as a kid, I was like, that is not sable. That is not mink. It was like, oh, Joe. Oh, Joe. And I'm like, I am sweating as like an 8-year-old looking at it. So I'm like, how? And she wore it to mass. And of course, California's one's like in a tank top and shorts. Oh, Joe. So it still exists?
Yes. Yeah.
Didn't it have like a rope?
Yes.
Oh my! I mean, as a child, I was flabbergasted at the bad taste of it. I was like, "That is a fur coat? No, that's not what I envisioned as a fur coat."
I think it was lamb's wool.
Oh my lord!
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That
Oh.
coat. I liked
Yeah.
it. I thought it was nice.
Just like
goodness.
there's already so much wool happening, and then you're just like, let's do like a extra thick layer
Oh
of
my
wool,
God.
unfigured out
Therese.
wool, just like an inch and a half thick.
Persian lamb.
Persian lamb.
Yeah. So it's shaved and it's very wavy.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I do remember the wavy
You have
part.
to take a picture of it because I swear my memory literally when she opened it up and she's like, "Oh, Joe, it's gorgeous." I literally remember as a kid like, ah. And then she wore it to Matt's, and I think I sat next to her, and I was getting such peripheral heat off of it. I was ready to faint. Like, you have to take a photo and send it to us. Okay. Those are the great memories of Nana. Oh, I'm walking into I'm like, you're going to faint from heat exhaustion. It's like, they were total characters as grandparents. You two have always been much more hands-on as grandmothers.
Well, and he gave her a mink stole earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And she had it made into a teddy bear.
Well, I did with some
What?
grandchild
Oh.
now somewhere. That's like great.
Yeah.
It has a second life. I mean, that's the whole point of it. Yeah, we've never been a big fur family here in Southern California. There's been never been a need, and for various reasons. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just so.
Well, and besides which, Therese had a Dickensy side.
Meaning
Just, she'd get up to all kinds of stuff that nobody knew about. Because at home, she was like the model child. It was really annoying.
Well, Mom, didn't they have to tie you to a tree to control you? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Dickens, I don't know who you're calling a Dickens from your childhood
Oh,
stories.
No, because I was just out there. I don't know. I'd go for trips.
yeah, they let you loose in the neighborhood.
Well, and I knew people they didn't know.
Right. You've told some childhood stories that are very funny. Like you wouldn't have lunch with people and your mom's like, who? What? Yeah. Well, that was some of our childhood. Being in Southern California in the summer in particular, it was like after breakfast was served, it was sort of like, get out,
Yeah,
come
get
back
out
for
there.
dinner or lunch if you're really hungry. But if we met
DIY summer camp, goodbye.
yeah, exactly. Really the only grandparent that came in summer was Grammy, which is our father's mother. And usually we wanted to get out when she was there because there were chores involved or, she'd have a task and if you didn't do it quick enough, she was doing it and then you get in trouble. So it was like, oh my gosh. But, if you had a little bit of money, I mean, you could be out all day. And meeting people, and it was just a different era, and and no tracking your kid. No idea where they were.
You didn't want to know.
No, to some degree, came back alive. Okay, great,
Yeah,
They had
perfect.
a nice day. Well, great. I'm so happy for you. Let's have dinner.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's too much insanity when you actually think about it now. But we don't have any real wild grandchild yet.
Would you consider Lauren a little bit of a
Lauren.
wild? So
Well,
that's
she's
Ginny's
sassy.
younger.
She
yeah,
is very
she's sassy.
smart. She's funny, and she's very sassy. And she ain't gonna do anything she don't want to do.
Oh yeah.
but she's very cooperative.
She stayed with me multiple days. I think she's a doll. I mean,
Yeah.
they're lucky because they have cousins, because we didn't really grow up with cousins. So whenever we had relatives come and visit, including, there's infamous stories with you and your, well, actually it was the last podcast when you revealed to me, Aunt Therese, that Christian and Danny are not twins.
Right.
Literally to this day, I'm like, I thought they were twins until that podcast. I don't know why, but I did. So there were some amazing times when they came to visit, but that can be for another podcast.
Yeah, they were rare.
No, I know, but we were just lucky to have some visits from back east cousins, and we went back east and had our own adventures too. But I think it's so awesome. So you're going to be here a little longer, being Gigi,
Right.
for now Behringer, which I think we should start calling him the bear.
Yeah.
All right.
Baby bear.
Oh, baby
Very-
bear, that's so cute.
Well, they'll decide, and then
Yeah.
also, preschool will do it too.
Right.
But that head of hair is so fabulous.
Yeah.
The bear is kind of deciding it.
We got lost track of all these grandkids.
Well,
I don't know where we quit.
we've wrapped it up with Behringer because he's number 11 for Aunt Therese, Gigi. And like we said, for you, it's like it's been a minute because now, I don't know, the next babies might be,
I know.
or listen, our two brothers sitting over here. I don't want to put any pressure on you guys, but that's still a possibility for us to become aunts or grandmothers again. But yeah, there's you haven't had a grandchild in a minute. So that's Lauren is the last standing right now.
I know. And there's some old enough to be
Sure.
getting married
Yeah.
and having kids.
Yeah, hopefully in the next couple of years, if it's
Hopefully,
right.
I'll be a great grandmother.
Yes, that'd be awesome. So, but you're both great, I don't want to say great grandmothers, but you're both awesome grandmothers. I think our kids genuinely enjoy you.
I enjoy them. They're
Yeah,
just-
you stop by unannounced. That's your trick with me in the morning. And usually I'm in my pajamas and I see you walking up the steps. I'm like, oh God, what's going on? And it's, I just coming from this or that, wanted to visit. And so then you just did that recently. And we went and woke up Ethan, the teenager, during summer, of course. And after you left, because we all sort of had breakfast together and hung out. I really enjoyed my time with Grand Mary. That was so great. So, you are very beloved by your grandchildren. And now you have number 11, who, you can already tell he was smiling, being held, is a very happy grandbaby. And congratulations to Jenny and Christian. We love having more cousins and close to us, so it's awesome. So, I think it would have been possible to, I think we covered everybody. Did we get kind of?
There were stories about everybody, I think.
I think we need to.
Did we get enough about Rosemary's, Jack and Luke? I don't know.
The
They were
dudes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Little guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're, of course, grown men.
That's what I said. It was
It's
so
hilarious.
surprising.
They're so big.
Well, I just was away with them, and they're just their presence. They're just young men.
Men.
It's like, oh my.
Oh, you know what? We did touch on, then we didn't get back to. You had brought up that Adam's birth was really traumatic. And that was, you were in the delivery room for that. I don't think I had everybody. Ed, you weren't there.
there for
It was less attended than Sarah's birth.
I was there, but it was the very typical signs that the baby cries. Basically, it's out of every movie. The baby starts to cry. The color's correct. There's, they're moving their arms and legs. So they're finally free to do that, and they're freaking out because even the environment changed. He wasn't doing that.
Nope, he
So
did not breathe right away.
So
Yeah,
I
it was
think we were
very alarming.
asked to leave the room, a bunch of us, because they needed to focus on, and so then to be standing outside the room, just not knowing what's going on, and you're just praying to hear a cry. So I don't know if you were able to stay in the room, Mom, but
Yeah, I did.
They cleared out. Probably myself, maybe your sisters. I remember being in the room and then standing on the hallway, going oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, God, please, 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 please. So. Yeah, that birth in the United States, much less third world countries, is always precarious. And we're lucky that we have modern medicine here to deal with situations because, then Adam did eventually cry and thank God. But, it's always.
He was the most, of all my grandkids, the most delicious to hug. He gave the best hugs in the world for the first couple of years. And you lived close by. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, we lived really close when he was born.
I'd have to see if I could get a hug. I'd have a bad day at work now. I'd want
Oh,
to
you
see
need an Adam hug.
because give me an Adam hug and I'll be okay.
Or a snuggle.
Yeah, he was a delicious baby.
Yeah, you also, because everybody's different. And I wonder if your daughters were like this. Some can be more intense and other ones are like, here, hold my kid. So Kat, I remember Adam being your second kid. I remember one time I got to hold him at some family event and he fell asleep on me. Oh my God. For like an hour, my arm was dead numb because he was a big baby.
He was.
But
a big
it was
lug.
awesome to be an aunt. And speaking of big babies, Berenger is like, how much did he weigh?
8'12".
Yeah, that's
Holy
hefty.
moly.
Yeah.
You were of all my kids, I think you were 8'14". Everybody else was over 9 pounds.
What?
Oh yeah.
That's not that common today.
No, not at
Even
all.
an 8-pound baby is like, ooh, that's a
Yeah.
big baby.
Huge.
Oh,
yeah.
you'd go to the nursery window and you'd look and you think, what the hell is that kid doing?
Someone's the baby's already sitting up, waving at you.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
what's happening here? Like, oh my God.
His arms are outside the incubator.
No wonder I was so tired.
Yeah, they don't babies today because they're watching mom's weights and all this, and we're healthier, and it's a really big baby. It's like they kind of monitor a little more. So like, 8-pound babies are on the bigger side today, but healthy, and thank God, right?
yes.
So
Yeah.
Jenny's doing great.
Yeah.
Berenger's here, number 11. And we couldn't be happier to have another cousin and talking about sort of some of the grandmother journeys and Gigi
Yeah.
and Grand Mary journeys you've been on. I don't think we both are not going to be grandmothers for any time in the near future.
No, I mean, truly, I may not be a grandmother. We'll see how that works out.
That's true, because Adam being autistic most likely will
Yeah.
not have a traditional adult journey.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Sarah is very funny. She's like, I don't like the idea of kids. I'm not that interested. And she has a lot of her own health issues. And she's like, and I don't know that genetically I'm really thinking it would be great to give this to somebody. So,
Well, I tell Ethan
Yeah.
I'd like 4, and he just rolls
oh,
his
that's
eyes at me.
funny.
And I say, I want to live with you. I mean, I really traumatized. I'm really scaring the shit out of him at this point. So it's all going to happen for me. He's like, oh my God. He told me recently, like, I think I'm going to go live in a cabin by myself with a view. I was like, are you just being a jerky teenager trying to torment me? Yes, probably. But congratulations on the
Yes.
newest grandson, Berenger Gerard Saunier.
What a great name.
What a name to live up to. He already has a head of hair to pull it off, so that's fabulous. And thank you for both talking about being grandmothers. We're blessed to both have you in our lives, truly. And we love that there's another reason for you to visit Southern California. Aunt Therese.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love it too.
I know, it's such a blessing. All right, so thank you for listening to Family Dynamics.
And you can find us on all social media platforms at Family DynamiKs with a K, and also on YouTube. We put all of our episodes up on the Knack Entertainment YouTube channel. So thank you for listening to
Family
Dynamics.
Dynamics.